Most buyers keep chasing sporty styling, premium badges, and flashy tech, while the cars seniors actually enjoy are the quiet, simple, easy-riding ones sitting ignored on lots. Today we are breaking down 7 cheap cars that are reliable, easy to get into, easy to see out of, comfortable on rough roads, and affordable to own. Number 7. Scion XB. This is the cheap car seniors keep overlooking because the styling is weird, the badge is dead, and the shape looks like a rolling lunchbox. That is exactly why it works. The 2013 through 2015 Scion XB is one of the easiest used cars in America to get in and out of. The roof is tall, the doors open wide, the seating sits at a chair-like height, and the controls are simple enough that you do not need a learning curve every time you run to the store. This is what a lot of older drivers actually need, even if nobody talks about it. The outward visibility is strong, the cabin feels airy, and the box shape makes parking and judging corners much easier than in a lot of swoopy crossovers. Underneath the oddball look, you are getting Toyota-based hardware, and that matters. It is not exciting, but it is reliable, easy to service, and built around parts and mechanical logic that shops know well. That is the real reason this car fits seniors. It reduces strain. You do not drop down into it like a low sedan, and you do not climb up into it like a trucky SUV. You just slide in, settle down, and go. That makes daily errands, church runs, doctor visits, and grocery trips feel less tiring than they do in a lot of bargain-priced vehicles. The reason nobody talks about it is simple. Scion is gone, younger buyers moved on, and most people never realize how comfortable and practical this box can be. The sweet spot is usually between $6,000 and $10,000, with very clean late cars sometimes higher, which makes it one of the smartest senior-friendly values on the market. It also helps that the backseat is genuinely useful and the cargo area is square, not cramped by trendy rooflines. Another thing seniors often notice right away is how little twisting this car asks from your body. The seat base is high enough to feel natural. The roofline does not force you to duck hard, and the square windows make lane changes and backing up feel far less stressful than in a lot of sleek modern cars. Even the dashboard layout feels refreshingly clear. Big knobs, simple shapes, and no fake premium clutter. For older drivers who care more about ease than image, that matters every single day. And because the doors are so large and the cabin floor is so low, getting a walker, bags, or a folded chair in and out feels much less awkward than people expect for a car this cheap today. This is not pretty, and it is definitely not sporty. Good. Those are not the priorities here. Easy entry, light effort, and low drama matter more. If you want a cheap car that makes everyday life less annoying, this thing quietly makes a very strong case. It is one of those rare used cars that solves problems most buyers do not even think about until their back, knees, or neck start complaining. And when that starts happening, the XB suddenly makes a ton of sense. Subscribe if you want honest, useful car advice that saves your money before a flashy badge or a great deal turns into a painful mistake. Number 6. Buick LaCrosse. This is the cheap, near-luxury cruiser seniors should be looking at much harder, because it delivers the kind of comfort most compact SUVs only pretend to give you. The 2014 through 2016 Buick LaCrosse, especially in the better V6 versions, is one of those used cars people skip for all the wrong reasons. The badge feels old, the sedan shape feels unfashionable, and buyers assume that anything this quiet and this smooth must cost more than it does. That lazy thinking creates the opportunity. These usually land around $10,000 to $13,000 for the V6 cars worth owning, and that buys a lot of calm. The ride is soft, the seats are wide, the cabin stays silent on rough pavement, and the whole car has a settled, relaxed feel that is much easier on the back and ears than many similarly priced compact crossovers. That is a huge deal for older drivers. You are not fighting road noise, wind noise, or a jittery suspension every mile. You are just moving along in a way that feels easy. Another reason the LaCrosse works so well is the way you use it. The doors open wide enough to make access manageable. The trunk is large without being awkward, and the controls are not buried behind a bunch of nonsense. For seniors who still do road trips, medical appointments, family visits, or weekly errands, this car takes a lot of stress out of the process. It feels more expensive than it is, and more importantly, it feels less tiring than a lot of trendy alternatives. Nobody talks about it because Buick still carries that old man image, and modern car buyers treat sedans like a mistake. That is their problem. A good LaCrosse gives you the kind of highway manners many older drivers actually prefer. Because the steering is not twitchy, the ride is not harsh, and the cabin is not trying to shout at you. It is trying to keep you comfortable. That matters more than image. It also helps that the LaCrosse feels stable instead of nervous. On broken pavement, it settles down rather than crashing over sharp edges. And on the highway, it tracks in a calm, confident way that reduces fatigue. Seniors who do longer drives often care less about cornering and more about how the car feels after 90 miles. This Buick understands that. It also gives you wide seat cushions and a softer overall posture, which can be a real relief for hips, lower backs, and shoulders that do not enjoy stiff suspension tuning anymore. This is not the car for somebody who wants to feel sporty. It is the car for somebody who wants a quiet seat, a smooth ride, and a lower stress ownership story. In this price range, that is rare. A lot of vehicles look practical on paper, then wear you out once you spend 2 hours behind the wheel. The LaCrosse usually does the opposite. The longer you sit in it, the more the value starts making sense. Number 5. Toyota Camry. This is the car seniors keep overlooking because it seems too ordinary, and that is exactly why it belongs here. The 2013 through 2016 Toyota Camry is one of the smartest, cheap used cars for older drivers because it gets the basic things right every single day. The doors open wide enough, the seat height is manageable, the controls are clear, and the whole car feels simple to understand the first time you sit in it. That matters more than style. A lot of older drivers do not need a vehicle that feels sporty or trendy. They need one that feels calm, comfortable, and predictable. The Camry delivers that better than most used cars in this price range. In today's market, the sweet spot usually falls around $9,000 to $13,000 depending on year, miles, and trim, which makes it one of the most realistic senior-friendly buys in America. Another reason it fits seniors so well is the ride. It is soft enough to take the edge off rough roads, but not so floaty that the car feels loose or disconnected. The steering is light, the visibility is strong, and the cabin has the kind of simple layout that does not fight you with clutter. For older drivers with sore backs, stiff knees, or less patience for noisy cabins, that matters every time the car leaves the driveway. Nobody talks about the Camry in this exact senior-friendly way because people think of it as the default family sedan, not as a low-stress comfort pick for older drivers. That is a mistake. The Camry works so well for seniors because it does not ask for much. You do not have to learn strange tech tricks. You do not have to tolerate a harsh ride. You do not have to worry that the shape is too bulky in a parking lot or too low for easy entry. It simply makes normal life easier. Grocery runs, doctor visits, church, errands, lunch with family, and longer highway trips all fit this car naturally. It also helps that the seat cushions and cabin space feel more generous than many smaller used sedans, especially for people who want room to move without buying something huge. The reason this car deserves the spot is simple. It is reliable, comfortable, cheap enough to make sense, and easy to own for the long haul. That combination is hard to beat. Older drivers often value trust more than image, and the Camry has earned that trust for years. It is not the car people brag about. Good. It is the car they should buy when they are tired of noise, stress, and repair surprises. If you want one cheap used car that feels natural, stable, and honest for senior life, this Toyota keeps making a very strong case. It is one of the few used sedans that still feels like it was designed around everyday comfort instead of styling tricks, and that is exactly why it works so well here. It also helps that repairs, tires, and routine service usually stay more reasonable than on bigger, heavier vehicles, which makes ownership easier on a fixed income. Seniors who want one answer that feels simple, quiet, and truly low stress every week will understand this car almost immediately. It feels familiar, gentle, and easygoing in ways older drivers usually appreciate right away. Number 4. Buick Lucerne. This is the kind of old-school comfort car seniors usually love once they drive it, even if almost nobody talks about it anymore. The Buick Lucerne fits older drivers so well because it was built around softness, quietness, and ease instead of fashion. The sweet spot is usually the 2008 through 2011 range, especially clean CX or CXL cars with a 3.8-liter V6, and current used prices often sit around $5,000 to $9,000, depending on miles and condition. That is a lot of comfort for not much money. The first thing seniors usually notice is the seat. It is wide, soft, and supportive in a very old-school way. The second thing they notice is the ride. This car glides over rough streets and patched pavement in a way many newer budget cars simply do not. The cabin also stays quieter than most vehicles at this price level, which matters for older drivers who are done tolerating tire roar, cheap interiors, and stiff suspension. The Lucerne also makes entry and exit easier than many low sedans because the seat shape and door opening work with you instead of against you. It is not as upright as a crossover, but it is much more senior-friendly than a lot of sporty mid-size sedans. Another reason it fits older drivers is the overall feel on the road. The steering is easygoing, the controls are straightforward, and the whole car moves with a calm, settled character that reduces fatigue. For seniors doing errands, appointments, pharmacy runs, family visits, or highway drives, that calmness matters more than almost anything. Nobody talks about the Lucerne because Buick lost cool factor years ago, and because a lot of buyers assume a comfortable full-size sedan must be expensive to buy or hard to keep. In this case, that assumption is wrong. The Lucerne stays cheap because the market chases newer crossovers, not because this car stopped making sense. It is actually one of the best values for an older driver who wants a bigger, softer, easier riding daily car without paying luxury brand money. There is another reason it works. The trunk is big, the rear seat is spacious, and the cabin feels airy instead of squeezed. That makes it friendlier for passengers, mobility aids, travel bags, and the normal stuff older drivers haul around. It is not stylish, and that is fine. It is one of those cars that quietly solves problems instead of creating new ones. If a senior wants a used car that feels comfortable the second they sit down, stays quiet on the road, and costs far less than people expect, the Lucerne is one of the smartest overlooked answers left on the market. It is easy to underestimate until you actually spend time in one, and then the whole value story becomes obvious very fast. The Buick badge may not impress anybody, but the seat comfort, soft ride, and easygoing highway manners still impress the people who matter most, the ones actually driving it every day. For seniors who value softness, silence, and space, that old-school Buick formula still works. Number 3. Lexus ES 350. This is the smart splurge that still makes financial sense, and for a lot of seniors, it is exactly the kind of car that turns daily driving from a chore back into something peaceful. The 2013 through 2015 Lexus ES 350 fits older drivers so well because it gets the basics right at a very high level. The cabin is quiet, the ride is soft, the seats are supportive, the controls are easy to read and easy to reach, and the whole car has that settled, polished feel that makes highway miles feel shorter than they really are. That matters more with age. The body is not too tall, not too low, and the doors open wide enough that getting in and out feels much less awkward than in a lot of sleeker luxury sedans. Another reason this one lands so well with seniors is the way it handles noise and fatigue. Wind noise stays low. The suspension does not crash over sharp edges. The steering is light without feeling vague. When people say a car is relaxing, this is what they mean. It is not trying to impress you with aggression. It is trying to make every trip feel smoother, calmer, and easier on your back, ears, and patience. Nobody talks about it as a cheap car because the Lexus badge still scares people into assuming the used price must be too high. That is outdated thinking. In today's market, the sweet spot is roughly $13,500 to $15,500, depending on miles, condition, and service history. That is not bargain basement money, but for what you get, it is still very reasonable. This is the car for seniors who want comfort first, but still want something that feels a little special without becoming a maintenance diva. That is the whole magic trick here. The ES gives you near-luxury calm without the ownership headaches that send a lot of older German sedans into repair bill territory. It also helps that the cabin layout feels logical. Big gauges, clear controls, and a driving position that never feels cramped all make the car easier to live with. The seat cushions are wider than in many midsize cars, which matters for long drives and for older bodies that do not love narrow, heavily bolstered seats. And while many buyers have run toward crossovers, the ES quietly keeps proving that a well-tuned sedan can still be easier on the body than a taller vehicle with a busier ride. This is especially true for seniors who spend real time on highways, or who simply want a car that feels silent and composed instead of loud and constantly busy. It is also one of those cars passengers appreciate immediately, because the rear seat is easy to enter, the floor is low, and the ride never feels busy or brittle over patched pavement. For seniors carrying friends, spouses, or family, civility matters far more than having a trendy body style. The trunk is large enough for travel bags, groceries, and family errands, and the rear seat works for adult passengers without apology. If you want a senior-friendly car that feels refined, stable, and deeply comfortable without becoming a wallet-eating showpiece, this Lexus is one of the sharpest answers on the market. Subscribe for real-world picks that balance comfort, reliability, and price, not whatever the market keeps pushing because it looks newer or tougher today. Number 2. Toyota Prius V. This is the senior-friendly car most people dismiss without ever understanding what it does so well. The 2015 through 2017 Prius V has the image problem of an uncool hybrid wagon, and that is exactly why it stays more affordable than it should. For older drivers, that works out beautifully. The wagon shape gives you easy access, the seating position feels natural, the visibility is excellent, and the back seat has enough room that adult passengers do not feel punished. On top of that, the fuel bills stay low, which matters a lot for seniors living on a tighter monthly budget or simply tired of watching gas prices swing around. The sweet spot in today's market is roughly $10,500 to $13,500, and for that money, it is hard to find another used car that combines this much room, this much ease, and this little fuel stress. The reason it fits seniors so well starts with the way it uses space. The roof is high enough for easy entry, the doors are practical, the rear cargo area is genuinely useful, and the low-load floor makes groceries, walkers, luggage, and regular household stuff much easier to move around. Another thing older drivers often notice quickly is how gentle the Prius V feels in everyday use. It is not quick, and that is fine. The power delivery is smooth, the controls are light, and the entire car seems built around reducing effort. It does not ask for a lot of body movement, and it does not punish you with loud, busy manners on ordinary trips. Nobody talks about it because buyers prefer SUVs, and a hybrid wagon sounds deeply unexciting to the average shopper. Good. That boring image creates a brilliant ownership case. You get a roomy, easy vehicle with Toyota hybrid durability, low operating costs, and a daily driving feel that is more relaxed than many bargain crossovers. Seniors who hate gas stops especially end up loving this car because the savings are not theoretical. They show up every week. That can make a real difference in fixed income. It also helps that the visibility is more senior-friendly than in many newer designs. The glass area is generous, the cabin feels open, and you do not sit buried behind thick styling tricks. That lowers stress in traffic and parking lots, which matters more with age than car reviewers ever admit. Another quiet advantage is the way the hatch opening and flat cargo floor reduce lifting strain. You are not wrestling bags over a tall lip, and you are not paying crossover fuel bills just to get this kind of practical room for daily senior errands. The Prius V also keeps the noise, vibration, and harshness level more controlled than people expect from something with such a plain image. Add in a roomy second row and an easy hatch, and this turns into one of the best low-drama daily drivers older buyers can find. It may not earn bragging rights, but for seniors who want room, thrift, and a very low-stress routine, this Toyota is one of the smartest cheap cars on the road. Number 1. Toyota Avalon. This is the car that answers the senior buyer question better than anything else on this list, because it gets almost every important thing right, without acting flashy, complicated, or exhausting. The 2014 through 2017 Toyota Avalon fits older drivers so well because the whole car feels built around comfort, clarity, and low-stress ownership. The doors open wide, the seats are big, soft, and easy to slide across. The controls are simple enough that you do not need a tutorial every time you get in. The ride is smooth over broken pavement. The cabin stays quiet at highway speed, and the rear seat has enough room for real adults without folding them up. That matters. A lot of older drivers care less about image and more about how a car feels on the knees, back, neck, and ears after an hour on the road. The Avalon understands that better than most cars ever made. Nobody talks about it because big sedans carry a stigma now. Buyers keep chasing crossovers, and the Avalon gets dismissed as an old-person car instead of being recognized as a deeply smart buy. That dismissal is exactly why it still makes so much sense. In today's market, the sweet spot is roughly $15,500 to $18,000 for clean 2014 through 2017 cars, while older or higher-mile examples can dip lower. That is real money. But you are buying one of the lowest stress ownership stories in the market, not a trendy shape that gets tiring after 6 months. Another reason seniors love this car is that it asks so little from you physically. You do not climb up into it. You do not drop down too far into it. You open the door, turn, and sit. That matters every single day. The visibility is strong. The cabin feels open, and the whole car seems to encourage calm driving instead of busy, nervous correction. On the road, the Avalon feels stable in a way that makes long drives easier. It does not bounce, crash, or twitch. It settles. That is a big deal for older drivers who want a car that feels composed instead of constantly reacting to every rough patch and expansion joint. It also helps that Toyota kept the layout logical. The buttons are readable, the cabin is not trying to look futuristic, and the overall design feels like it was made for people who actually use their cars every day. This is the car for seniors who care about comfort, simplicity, and reliability more than trends, and that is exactly why it belongs at number 1. It is not the cheapest choice here, but it may be the best value if what you really want is peaceful ownership and miles that feel easier, quieter, and kinder on your body. That is what smart aging looks like in car form. Another quiet advantage is how well this car works for passengers. Friends, spouses, and family members get easy rear door access, generous legroom, and a seat that does not feel pinched or perched. The trunk is also huge, which sounds boring until you are loading luggage, groceries, folding walkers, or holiday bags without fighting a tiny opening. And unlike a lot of cheaper used cars, the Avalon rarely makes seniors feel like they have to settle. It still feels upscale. It still feels quiet. It still feels like a car built for adults who value ease over drama. For older drivers who want one answer that handles errands, church, family visits, and longer highway days with equal calm, the Avalon keeps making a stronger and stronger case every mile. That is why owners keep them longer than planned and stop looking for something flashier later. Click the next video now because the smartest senior cars are usually the least trendy ones on the lot. Comfort and simplicity beat badge chasing every single time.